Okay, here's an article from 1998 May, and this guy who is a market analyst of some type, Mel Widner, I never heard of him, but and I used to read this magazine. It always had cool articles back in the day. I think they still make it. And you know, good old paper, you know, it has shiny cover. You could buy it in a real store, but I guess you can buy this article for $3.95. But what it is it's not automated in terms of it's going to trade, because back then I'm sure that this was considered to be the most automated thing in the world, is to have an indicator. So somebody published I found the indicator in MT4 code on the internet. So I'm going to put it in this comment here when I post the video. And the guy that wrote it, I don't think he's around anymore. And I just I changed the settings in there. I turned off, you can turn them on, but I turned off the trend lines, because I'm just using this as a support and resistance, because I'm going to draw the trend lines myself. I can trust a indicator or a robot to put in support and resistance levels, because I would do that anyways, but it's going to save me a lot of horizontal drawing. Now the vertical drawing is going to be like projecting into the future, and the nice thing about these support and resistance, they go into the future too, like a cloud. So like a cloud trader has his Tenkan-Ashis and all his stuff floating out in the future. This one, you could also make the settings. Now I made the setting I don't know what the setting does to the but inside the code you'll be able to see the terms. If you do a search for this indicator, you'll see the terminology. But I have my set pretty tight. I set it to 5. The first setting set to 5, and so right now I'm playing back a version of it inside of Strategy Tester. And my settings are set like this. It's going to be 5. Now the tighter this is, the more lines it's going to draw. This, I think, is just the total amount of data it's going to look at. I'm not sure. You can play around with it, but you know, I can't say that you could. You know, when I first saw this thing about 4 years ago, I thought, well, I'd like to build a robot based on entering on these pivots that it's going to show me, but I just couldn't. You know, I can't figure out how to connect an EA to this indicator, and I looked for a lot of people were asking the same question: where do you plug this in? But there's a function in here. Like if you look at this, this is the function. Apparently, this thing, this WSO. But I turned off the trend lines because I didn't like it was drawing trend lines off the edge of the bar and the wicks, and I didn't like that at all. So I just turned that off. You can turn them back on just by deleting these forward slashes, but I just, you know, for me, it's too much. And then, of course, all these functions down here, blah, 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 blah. But the problem with this indicator, it actually won't repaint. It compiles okay without any errors, but it won't repaint and when you're playing Strategy Tester back, if you hit delete all objects, it's never going to repaint. It's never going to fill back in. So I have to let this thing go. Any trend line I put on here is going to be I'm going to have to live with, unless I manually delete just that one trend line. But in the playback mode here, I can speed it up just a little bit. And the cool thing about this is it's going to give you these amazing places to put orders, like really the key level. So it's doing it on the wicks, and then I've got the close, so I can come in on top with my trend lines, and on the weekend I can test out strategies and tactics. In other words, if this is my trend line to break, you know, I want to get it up here, but the indicator's already drawn the edge of the market here, right? So you can't get any tighter sell than thinking about selling up there and having the pendings up above like that. Yeah, I just can't imagine, right? I mean, and then here, look at this harmonic here. Now, this steps outside of this is the market is doing its own Fibonacci. I was in a chat room with a guy, and he posted a Fibonacci chart, and I'm not kidding you, every level was picked. He had the 17 fib, he had the fib between the fib, and I thought, well, yeah, but which trade did you take, right? This thing kind of filters out. Now you can set this So it shows you Mother Nature's the guy that came up with the idea of automating this top and bottom resistance. He was the guy who so now we're building the downstairs way. So if you want to practice building these channels, it just looks like this. But now you would just paper trade it in your head, right? You're not going to be able to put trades on here, but you're definitely going to be buying here, right? You're going to buy at this pivot because there's two lines there, right? It's stacked up. Okay, we break out, and the sellers are expected to come in up here, but they're probably going to, now they're going to maybe blow out the top. Look how they come, like, so they flirt with this level here, and you can see in the 1 hour playback what it would be like to scalp that, right? You hardly had to. Now, if you had a pending at the, if you had a pending up here, right, at this point, you know, you got filled and they rip it back, right? So it's a fill rip back world, and this is a good exercise is to be on the 1 hour chart because, and of course, you want your buy pendings stacked up. For every time this automated system gives me a thing, I'd like to have a pending there. If anybody knows how to build this robot, of course, you still have to figure how much of this order is going to be a scalp and how much is going to be a complete engulf, right? So when they went up and trapped these guys up here, and now they're ripping it back, now they could rip it right through the floor, right? Now we can come down and take out all this stuff, right? And definitely this is a rich scalp zone, so definitely right here as you come into this, you know, just beyond this point is where the people's stops are, right? Look, they grabbed up, now they touched that channel, right? So that or whatever, my original channel, right? But it's still a reference off of here. It's not like you had to, you could redraw another channel up there, but it would actually be like a flat channel. You know, it wouldn't be worth too much to you. I guess you could drag this over. Not, you have to manually delete all these lines as you're doing this, but you got the double bottom here, and here's where they trap them. So for me, the ultimate entry is to get in the trap zone, right? So when you got in, and the nice thing about this indicator, it already gave you this floor that we never touched, and then it gave you the ceiling above that floor. So it's really kind of, and you can let the strategy tester run. You can run all the data on any currency pair, and then you can just come back and look at this thing, right? You can let this thing run for like an hour, come back, and you can test yourself to see. That must have been a gap open on a Sunday there, unless I got bad data. So you can test yourself on like how you would play it, how you would do it, and what type of emphasis would you put on this support and resistance clusters. I think it's really key because it's pretty much where it's the moment of truth zone, right? People have their stops there. Also, people are like, yeah, it's not going. I mean, in other words, it's the fake breakout, a retrace entry for the ultimate to make 20 times your money, right? I mean, you got 20 pip stop, and you got a 2,000 pip. Everything just takes off, never looks back. Or you're risking 20 pips to make 200, right? So that's 10 times your money, right? It's not that hard, right? You'd have to wait. Those trades don't always come around, right? So just if you dialed it down to like risking 5 to make 20, right? Risk 10 to make 100, risk 10 to make 50. Because I don't have the price grid up here now, but you would just assume, whatever you would afford, right? So if you have a 20 pip stop, it's a mini, right? You're risking $2 or you're risking $2 to say, and then you're going to just, if you're trading super small, and you're just going to drag and drop all your orders into this area without even thinking twice about it, as long as your risk to ratio ratios are good. Of course, they're all going to be limits if they're below, and limits if they're above. Now, the buy limits below, sell limits above. You can't put a buy stop down here. That's the only rule of the game. You could put a buy stop right now in this fractal. Now, a lot of guys right here would be putting fractal stops here. I saw a guy just do a video. Hard to believe, but he said, I'm going to just put it up here. But for his buy stop, but your buy stop would be here, and you could do all your trading, your paper trading in your mind. Of course, the idea that you're going to print this out and prove to yourself it works. No, you're going to know right here whether you're right or wrong, right? Of course, if we get in on a stop here, we're going to have to get in. We're going to put our. We're going to. If you're a faithful trader, your protection is supposed to go here, or you could have your sell stop there and your protection up there. So let's see how this would have worked out, right? For you to make a break even, it's a risk. You've got to get to here. So okay, now you trail it. You're in. Now you move your stop, right? And if you move it too tight, you're already okay. Now you're almost in losses. Now you've been trapped, right? So was that the place to put a buy limit, or was that the place to put a sell stop? And this is the whole problem with trading, right? Was that it, or should I have just traded at the market on the clock and said, okay, when it broke out, pulled back, 1 hour, boom, I hit the sell button, right? Now I'm expecting it to come down to here. But maybe this is nothing but a little bit of consolidation before we go blow out that top. Well, for the trend people, they're looking at it this way. It's in an uptrend. This is probably a flag. But if you're getting chopped on this flag here, like you went long on that, you have a, but if you, okay, so maybe your buy stop here hasn't been filled. Problem is, you got trapped in here, and was the real trade to put a buy limits in this trap zone down here, or was it to wait till you got filled on this breakout of, say, this wick, right? But they trapped you on this wick because if you put it too tight, you got chopped. And now maybe this is the top. Maybe this is where they're going to do the fake breakout of here and rip it all the way back. So it's very difficult in terms of that's the only reason why I argue against stop entry, because there's always another place to get back in on a limit. So say they break it out, right? And you're like, damn, I missed that. I'll wait till they rip it back here and blow out these guys' stops, because anybody that's long has a stop here. So it's very bizarre game to trade. Or you have a cluster here for sure. You've always got pendings at the original breakout, right? Because it may have to come all the way back to here before it gets enough fuel to take it higher, right? So now we broke this trend line. For a lot of people, we broke this trend line already. Like if you consider this to be your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So that's you almost got a perfect Elliott wave there. You know, even a stop clock is right twice a day, right? So you went 1, 2, 3, 4, which looks like a nice 4, 5, right? So this you're finally getting that. This would be ABC down, right? But it may not be. But yeah, you're going to want to get in with more orders with this automated indicator, I suppose, or you could just stack them up there. But, you know, drawing all these things like this is a real pain. And if you can, you know, when you delete these, when you do delete all objects, you have to hit the refresh button of time, and it's going to bring all these support and resistance in. So that's kind of nice that it doesn't repaint, I guess, in a way, because then you don't have to be like, oh man, that thing just keeps repainting. But amazingly, during playback in the strategy tester, it's repainting. So let me speed this puppy up. And of course, you can imagine in your mind's eye, like what it would be to trade this thing. Now, this could be psycho fast, but look how it's trapped in this thing. Okay, here's the big breakout, right? And it's drawing. Now it's going to give you the. It's building this pressure zone up in here, right? So really interesting. Zoom out maybe a little bit, but look how it's actually deleting itself, right? It's deleting the trailing support and resistance. But look how this becomes an important price. Of course, it seems to be erasing once it gets through. But look at this pivot. Oh my God, that was insane. I don't know. It's just kind of a neat way to practice viewing the market in terms of just how much this thing can move. You know, if you go to if you're a person that doesn't trade the 1 hour, so I would just set this to 4 hours and do the same thing. I think it's going to play back a little slower. I'm just running the MACD that came with meta quotes, which is this is the MACD that everybody. There's a guy out there selling a course. It's so cute. He's got the MACD. Why not, right? So here's the template I built, and it's going to throw in, I hope, these DM. Okay, so now this is the 4 hour view, and it's on the max speed. So this is a little bit more tame. But look how this thing just automatically gives you the most blatantly obvious pivots. And so this is the pivots for me, are just the tops become bottoms. Of course, I don't know how to set this indicator to make it on close. I guess if I really dug through the code, but I tried a couple times to make it painted on close, but this is kind of almost better because this shows you where everybody's stops are, or the tripping point, right? And so this is the tripping point on the south side here, and I got this sped up to max speed. So that's definitely the end of the world. Okay, so it just threw in, for some reason, however I have the settings set, it just threw this one in because I guess it's looking at this low, right? So now it's building this trap zone. Okay, they just took out this. Now they might have trapped the breakout traders there, right? The real floor is here. They're probably going to go after those stops and pull it up. But that's always the daredevil move. This is like you're dangling out of the edge of an airplane, and you're just wondering if your parachute's going to... So look how they just touched that. They just touched that. And this thing, I don't know if it just redrew. No, it hasn't redrawn yet. Okay, now they're just going to Plungeville. I can't really see too far back to the left on here, but we're probably going to historical price. This is probably the meltdown of the euro. This is how it kind of falls apart here. But now this is going to be the place to take the target for the bulls. But that's a 4-hour chart. You know, too bad you can't switch to 1 hour on this damn while you're playing back the thing, but you just can't, even though you want to. But you can still draw the trend lines in here. So I'm going to still zoom out. This 4-hour complete meltdown of the euro here. And the thing it's not giving us is the internal top bottoms, which is okay, because if I'm going to draw in a different color, like I knew this was support, right? So I could just see, wow, when they take that out, but that's on the 4-hour clock, without regard to the way this indicator chooses to pick what it considers to be support and resistance, because the clock's a different world. So when this became a when this bottom became a top in time, there was still that stop hunt, you know, right here. There was still that thing, and on the smaller time frame, I don't know how to set. I could set this indicator maybe to 1. If I set this to 1, let me see if I can set it to 1 and if it'll change on the fly here. Might be asking too much of it, but if I set this to 2 on the top setting, I set it to 5 because I wanted to draw more lines, because I like to overtrade. So I like to overtrade, you know, really small but trade a lot. Hopefully this is going to just like update it. I won't have to go back in. I wonder if it's going to let me delete an indicator and install one. I don't know what you can do here when you're in the middle of a... Oh, it seems to be doing math on the indicator, so it really does slow it down. Oh, here we go. So I'm doing it on... I set the indicator to... Which I kind of like this better, especially on a 4-hour chart. So I set it to 2. So I'm probably going to do that on mine because... yeah, I do like all those lines. It really gives me a nice... it almost becomes like a moving average of just... There's so much, right? There's just so much in there. Just packed in there. Yeah, that's way more better. Look how it just gives you a nice big fat support level. And you can see this is the contention zone. So yeah, if you're placing a bunch of really tiny orders, I think that's the way to go, because then you can just see when they're going to clean where they're going to clean house and how that stop hunt's going to look. Because let's face it, man, there's pressure built up on these floors here. And I can fix the scale here, because now that you're running this many support and resistance, you're going to want to... You don't care about back here because you can't trade it. So you're just going to fix the scale. And even on... You can even fix the scale on playback and strategy tester. So I'm just going to wipe this out so I can see the whole drama. And look at this puppy. Look at how you just get these beautiful double bangers. And it has... There's no real Fibonacci here. I guess if you... And the Fibonacci guys do draw all this crap off their highs and lows. So isn't it funny how this has a Fibonacci-ish look to it? But it ain't Fibonacci. It's just real fractal, you know, this guy here, this guy here. But this is the automated. It's kind of beautiful because you don't really see. I don't know if anybody else is doing this indicator. I didn't really do a search to see if Ninja was doing MT4 though. Some guy posted this, and so I grabbed it, and that's what it looks like. And if you zoom in, you can still zoom in here, and you can still change the scale, so you could really let that thing give you these. I think this line here goes way back, so this is a reference. That's a pivot from way back, you know, which is so neat. And you just know there's more of a cluster resistance up here than there is down here. So if they should take that out, it's going to be a bloodbath to the north, right? Because of all of the, or you just know it's a great scalping region. And so playing the market back like this is just such a great way to practice. What would you do, right? If you had a gun to your head, what trade would you take? And you could put a moving average on here too, right? I think that's and that you know, you could insert, you could still do this. You know, I always make fun of people that trade with moving averages past 1, but like if you had this on, say, you know, 13, this would be like the Alexander Elder trading system, right? He's going to take trades like this. He's going to sell here. He's going to sell here. Going to sell here. I just like the whole idea of having a. Fatten that up a little bit. Yeah, so that's you know, if you're trading pure or just making an, you know, you can get this thing fat enough to make it like an envelope. You could take this thing up pretty fat. All right, just make it painfully obvious, and not the best thing on the 4 hour. I guess no, the 4 hour, it's kind of nice to have. You know, I've done a lot of moving average work, and I must say, if you're on the 4 hour, you're gonna want to use a tighter moving average. No sense in using a 100 period moving average on a 4 hour chart, right? It's just stupid. You're never gonna get, like, look at all these wonderful entries here. 1, 2, 3. You still got this thing hugging it, right? You know, you can't go. Although this moving average seems to work better, like a 1 period moving average on this is ridiculous, right? But of course, this is only giving you a couple trades a week on the 4 hour. But they're just, you know, if you're gonna, you know, I would say. Even if this was like a 34, right, or a 21 moving average, but then you wouldn't get these entries here. That's the whole problem. It's going to be, there's always a trade-off. Okay, now we're really packing up some major. This is a big controversy zone. I'm expecting this. This is one of your classic, like, bam, right? I mean, you can see all the pressure building up on these pivots here, and. But yeah, it's just it's one of these things I just had, and I just turned off. Like I said, I could turn on these trend lines, but it's gonna make your screen look like a scary mess. You know, I guess you could do it. Let me see if I can turn it on and show you what that would look like. I guess, you know, it's kind of nice, but it can be a little bit overwhelming. You know, it is gonna draw them on the. You can still draw your. Things on close internally. I'm gonna set it to black, so I usually just copy that because I'm kind of lazy. I just like to copy and paste a lot. Always got my pinky on this damn key, and then you're just gonna turn them on by doing this, and maybe if I compile this, hopefully it'll just come onto the screen on the fly. Wow, playing. There you go. So that's what it looks like. Oh wait, I forgot to edit one of the colors because I wanted to make it non-directional. Because it's like red up, blue down. It's too much. I'm just gonna make this thing color symmetrical. I don't know where it's getting this red from, this other color, but yeah, I guess you got to drill through some of this code here and find if it's trying to paint. Maybe I gotta delete it and start over. I might have just totally disturb the somebody yeah, I don't know here. Let me just see if I delete that and start over. It's pretty cool to so I'm gonna take off the moving average there. Okay. I guess there's quite a bit of math going on here. It slows down the playback of the market. I don't know, I'm just stuck with that color. I don't know where it's coming from. But anyways, it's auto-drawing trend lines. I can't say the trend lines, and of course the trend lines are set at that really tight setting. I can't say they really make too much sense for me, because my trend line would be off of these closes for sure. And that's why I turned it off, just because if you can imagine that this trend line to me is going to be my entry, right? And these trend lines here, I guess, are showing me a projection of leading into that. So that is kind of the and if you take a chart shift and move it all the way back here, and I still got the scale fixed, so that's going to be, I want to buy when it comes down into this, right? Because, and this is giving me the horizontals are giving me that. These price projections are kind of like, okay, would I sell up into that red? I don't know. I think the idea of selling up into this floor is better. I'm always looking for when they just grab the top of that thing, and that's the scariest place to sell, because it's already like screaming north. And that's why the stuff that's really scary is the things that you kind of want to do. Scarier the better. Of course, if you're trading, just trade the size that I guess doesn't make you completely petrified. So I'm gonna, hopefully I can just back out of this, go back to where I was, compile. Hopefully it's just gonna pluck them off. There you go. Well, that's magic. But you can't, you cannot change you can't change the settings as far as how long this indicator is up in this number. You have to delete the whole indicator. If you edit that, you got to delete the whole indicator and reinsert. Okay, let me zoom out here. And so that was that to me is just such a critical, I would change that setting actually. That's on 2 now. And I don't know, 1 might be I don't know if 1 would crash it. Let me just try 1. And then I'll just I'll have to delete it and then reinsert here. So, and then just put it back in. Oh, I guess it just crashed it. Oh well. Like you couldn't see that coming. Yeah, you have to wait for this thing. This is what it's like when you drop a bad script. Okay, this can happen. Yeah, I guess we just have to give up on that. I'll wait for it to respond. I like how you're given a choice. Would you rather make a payment now, or would you like to set up a payment program? Okay, here. Well, that was a brutal crash. So, hopefully it saved my template. Oof. Wow. Ouch. Okay, let me try that again. So yeah, strategy tester. I took it hard on the head. There are too many edits, I think. Oof. I think strategy testers just said see ya. Wow, can't even get it to come up here. Okay, let me try that again. So, yeah, I compiled that inside the, I set that to 1, right? Make sure that's gonna still run. Okay, so let me see if I can insert the template again. Yeah, I guess that's set to 1, so this should work. Okay, now this should be pretty crazy. Let's see what this looks like. So I set it to 1. So I guess it's the maximum amount of support and resistances you can get going here. Oh, it's going to play back that moving average thing I wrote, which is pretty ridiculous. Where it just sells every time the moving averages crossovers. Yeah, this is set to 1, so it's sold there. And so this might trade quite a bit on the screen. I'll take the playback up to high speed here. Yeah, this is like moving crossover of 1. Looks like it got hurt here. See, it's sold into that. But yeah, I'm just using it for the letting this indicator set it to 1. So it just gives you a killer place to put in stop entries and limits. So you could still put a buy stop up here. It's not like you couldn't. Let me put up the other robot. This is just good old. This is good old MetaTrader stuff here. MACD. And that's the sample. So once you write the template and then you play it back, and you can just see this gives you a wonderful, a more Fibonacci-ish looking price levels, right? You can see this being a 5, 8, 13 here, right? This is, in other words, 5, 8, 13. You're letting this guy's thing here, this thing. You're letting this thing tell you, right? He's got a PhD, for God's sakes. You gotta trust and believe that this guy. Come on. Come on, give me a break, right? He knows his stuff. He's charging $3.95 for this, right? This guy knows. So I'm running his, and I set it to 1. Okay, that's my setting. I've decided I'm going to run this puppy at 1 period, right? Like I run everything at 1. It's like 1 period. I'm a big fan of, like, give me what it's got. I'm not into smoothing no data out here, obviously. So that, my final conclusion, my final answer without phoning a friend would be set it to 1 and use this. Like, look at this beautiful double banger here. And the other setting of 500, I don't know. That may be the one you want to play with. Of course, I mean, does it get any better than this? Let me play it back a little higher speed here. I'm gonna max this puppy out. Look at that wonderful bracket there. It's just wonderful. And it's still holding on to these prices, so these orders would disappear. In fact, if you can imagine your pendings disappearing like this, in other words, your buy limits down here, because you're not going to need them now, right? That doesn't make sense, that trade anymore. And then you can draw trend lines on the fly here. This is like, how fast can you think, If you're just a range trader, man, I love this. I just love this indicator. Just love it to death. In fact, I can't think really of anything that compares, other than if I could get it to do it on close, on the closing price, and have it paint a different filter. I don't really know. I haven't really played around with adding on to this indicator, although that was a tough trade. So that was an MACD trade. This is why MACD sucks. Okay, this is the other point of the video. If you want to see how good MACD trades, you can set it. You can set it right here. MetaTrader put it in there for free. Comes with the platform. Look, it bought up there. If you could get it to invert the trades for you. Let me zoom out here. Maximum zoom out. Now here's a cool view. Look at this puppy. Look at this euro dollar on the 1 minute. Maybe I'm missing data here. Look how it threw in that thing. Wouldn't it be great if that was your buy entry? Talk about a wonderful world. I mean, it's just amazing to me. Look at this. It's sold up here, I think. I think it made money. When it's blue, it makes money, right? Man, MACD nailed it there. Right there's your argument for MACD right there, buddy. That's what I'm talking about. Uh-oh. We're in trouble, kids. It's sold down here. Oh, but it was right in the end. but it got stopped out. Oof. Yeah, I could think I want to thicken these up, but not really. I would almost thicken that up one more level, these things, but I like when we get like a cluster here. Of course, if you fix this scale and zoom in, look how wacky. You know, anybody that thinks moving averages are good, I just tell you to playback strategy tester with MACD turned on. Run your favorite indicators and just tell me, like if I had a moving average crossover system running right now, which is what, well, it's using MACD right now, you're going to tell me that that thing's going to, you're going to be able to take trades based on that? I guess so. I guess that's the contest, right? Let's insert, let's build a moving average crossover system on the fly. Hopefully won't crash the poor thing. Okay, insert indicators, moving average. I'm going to go with the moving average crossover system, which I built a long time ago. It was a 13 above a 21, and you just, in other words, if you do a 13 above a 21, at least you're going to get a tight entry. Oh, here's just a 13. So imagine you're buying every entry like this, right? Boom. Okay, you bought here. Ouch. Let's put the infamous 100 period moving average in. On top of that, I'm gonna go one level thicker, and I'm gonna go white and make this 100. There's the 100. Ooh, didn't find too good a support there. I should be short, but oof, I'm getting clobbered. I'm just getting, oh, that was a good entry right there. Oh, not so good. I waited a day too long. Okay, you just want to see the fallacy. Look at this. Perfect entry here. Not so perfect there. Seriously, let me make this 13 a little bit bigger. I don't know why people think that I'm trying to, you know, it's so funny. Some guy said to me, "You're back testing that thing on that." I don't know that's what he sounded like, but when anybody types into a comment, I always have to put a voice on top of it for me. Yeah, you think you're gonna back test that and not get? Oh, so you think? I had a guy say to me on a phone call the other day, I swear to God, he says, "You're dreaming." I'm like, yeah, I'm always dreaming, man. I mean, I'm always dreaming about like how it should be, and that's why I'm always bullish, because I'm optimistic. So I noticed he was a bear right away. I couldn't help but notice. Okay, let's make this a little more doable. The 20 period on top of the let's go to 50. You know, this will be a big filter. 50. You only take trades when the 50 is above the 100. This is more realistic, actually. So, especially on here, right? If you want to filter, if you really want to do moving averages, you want to get in. Okay, for anybody that does trade moving averages, I mean, all seriousness, if you create an envelope here, so you're only taking trades, I call it the river, when it comes into the river here. And actually, it's like Bollinger Bands. When it starts to get narrow, that's maybe your only envelope entry. The rest of it, like, forget it, right? Even here where it crossed over and said, oh, my moving average crossed over, I'm only taking bullish trades. Really, how'd this one work out for you? Kablamo, right? It's a perfect world here, though. But look at even here. These are garbage entries. Forget what I said. No, it's just, you're going to whipsaw it. I'm sorry. There's no perfect... the only thing that works is this damn guy from this this PhD guy that's got this wonderful, you know, like that's where you put your orders, and it's kind of giving you volatility index to some degree. But look at that. Woof, that was brutal. Really? How's your Forex trade? This is a 1 hour chart, and the day traders are cleaning up, right? You know why they're cleaning up? Because they had a buy limit here, right? They had a buy limit on top of that hammer. This is probably a 4 hour hammer back here, and look how they got tagged and bagged. Look at this insane spike. That was news. I remember that. I remember those kind of days. That's news. That's like NFP shit there. Here, look at this. Look at, you're putting in orders here. Imagine you're throwing a buy limit down here. You really want, you're impatient? Play this puppy back. Okay, you definitely got buy limits here, right? But you gotta have stops. Look at how I just got filled on that. I have no idea what's coming next, but I can tell you what. You put a grid down there, you know how much money you just made on that trade? This is proof in the pudding. My system, I'm buying a limit down here. Okay, that last, I'm gonna buy a limit down here. Just random. Who cares, right? Okay, here, when we start to go up, we always want to replace buy limits down here. So it's a constant hemming and hawing, right? You're always going to want to get back in here. Okay, that's telling me where to get in. It's telling me put a buy limit there. I just got killed on that, right? That could have been a stop entry. I guess I'm going a little too fast on playback here. We'll take it one notch. Like even nobody could think at that rate. Okay, so well, let's try to be realistic. There's my buy limits are just getting filled now, right? But there's got to be scalps built into that, so when it comes back up to here, which is the most likely probability is it's going to come back up into here, I got to get out of something, right? Or I'm going to get stopped out when I'm in, and I'm going to go down. So now this support and resistance thing is going to build up the clusters for me. Okay, we just took that out. So we just filled this buy limit that I had in, and hopefully I just scalped to this. So obviously if you had bought this is the 1 hour chart. I mean, in all seriousness, this is the 1 hour chart. You obviously, if you bought that, you had to get out here on close. You just had to, because look how it's going to keep going to hell. Now you got a buy limit down here. Now this is the time to think outside the box. And Katie bar the door, you have buy limits here. You're a day trader, right? This has got to scalp out to here. This just went down for 3 hours, probably going to go down more because this is one of those just runaway. And of course your moving averages are telling you only trade on the sell side of that, right? But realizing that you're always about to come to the end of this thing, right? Always about to come to the end, because the hard trend line is an adaptive moving average. Where these guys here, forget about it, right? They're telling you to stay short, but here you're getting whipsawed, right? Okay, I got this. I got a buy limit right here. I don't care. I don't care because my exit's up here, right? I know that going in, that if I'm going to buy outside the box, if I'm going to buy in no man's land like down here, I mean, I got filled on that. See, I missed that. I didn't get filled. That would have been an amazing scalp. Doesn't mean we can't. See, there was another chance I missed out just for the scalp, but now we're probably going to plunge through because they probably are doing nothing here but picking up the, trapping the bulls possibly. No. Came back to here. That was a good sell. So really, in the end, it's very difficult because of the fact that you got to decide if you're going to be able to change your mind from bullish to bearish. And I would do it on this, because I'd be saying to myself, man, this is the trend line to break. And I'm also saying to myself that if I copy this to this edge and I consider this to be a shoulder ahead of shoulder, I want to get on that shoulder for a test of this part here. And if I'm doing this analysis where I'm drawing the line underneath, so I'm gonna if I'm gonna draw the line underneath this thing, it's gonna be hanging off of here, and I'm gonna just say there's no way we're making that projection. So I'm day trading it, right? This is the low of the session. Okay, so they went down through it. Now that one I got filled on, and that's my trade almost all the time, is that last, oh, we just stopped you out. Because I used to get my ass kicked trading like, oh yeah, trade on the stop. But the guy, now the chance, if that was the breakout, if it's a real trade, you would definitely be selling up here. If you drew this trend line here, you can see here's where you would have sold, right? But maybe you're only right for an hour. Maybe this really is a fake breakout. So waiting for this to develop on the 1 hour, you can see how your trading day would unfold if you were day trading a 1 hour chart, and where the scalps would be. Without regard to the 5-minute world, you're waiting to get filled. You know they're probably going to go try to trap the bears on that. And if this is a real breakout, then this was the sell and your stop is up here and you're still in. Now you're waiting for this to be taken out. Okay. Probably coming down to here now. Maybe it's a trap though. So you're always, you know, this is like really brutal because maybe this is another trap. But this is also my buy limit. As this is breaking out, I'm always thinking about the poor son of a bitch that's got his, he's a bull and he put his stop here and he's waiting for that big move. We're all waiting for this big retrace, right? How long can they press this thing to the metal down? And this is what's happening right now in the euro. Same bullshit's happening right now. So, if you're drawing these trend lines in time, you're also aware of where people have their stops and where they're going to get, where the traps are. You're extending this to here. Now the bulls have made some headway here, but here comes the stop hunt, probably, possibly, right? But you want to reload here. Now think about really buying down here, because now the chances of us doing this big crash down here. What if you wanted to get long on this? It's always going to be put your order above the last known internal top here. So you would have scalped this and you would have scalped that. And I don't know how many pips you would have made, because in the spread on playback is, the spread we're getting on playback is the closing spread on this currency pair, which I think is about something crazy like 5 pips or something. Okay, so now that was not, so the guy that sold, let's think about the guy that sold this. This was a real breakout. This was not a fake breakout. This last one here, they trapped the bears. They pulled them all the way back up into this, right? So if you know that they've been trapped, and this is the double top where you want to have your limit, if this is then this is a 1 hour chart. They are going to go rape these puppies. Now the news must just come out, right? And look at how this buy limit, and I honestly have not played this market back. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm putting orders in that are no man's land, because I did this one night on my cell phone. I put a 3K down inside on the euro to the yen. I put it 200 pips deep, and I'm not kidding you. They filled that order within 4 hours and retraced it. In 8 hours, I made like $80 on this trade. I made 300 pips, right? And the market went down 200, tagged me, went up 500. It's insane, right? But this is the real money in Forex to me. Look at the guy that's still holding this order going, you know what? Or the guy that scalped it here, right? He knew he had to get out here on this hammer. But look at how this thing's just building pressure. Like, we're going to go up, right? Like, who's not waiting for this reach? What lughead? And now that everybody's bearish, right? Because they're moving average crossover saying it's bearish. This is the 1 hour. If we take out this high here, come on. They're definitely break it out and pull it back, right? That's a classic, right? So if you missed it now, you're waiting for it to come back to here. May not come back. Okay, came back. Okay, you just went long. So now you're long. That was the breakout pullback. Are you right? Is it really going to go up, or is that just a thing to grab all the bulls and now they're going to rape them? So this is the hardest thing about trading, is like, and for the guys that are the trend traders, they go, hell, that just nailed my 100 period moving, my 50 period moving average. I am so short this puppy. I am so right. My indicator and my robot, blah, 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 right? But looks kind of scary now. Now we're in fair value, right? Anything could happen. And to me, I don't mind buying at fair value, because if I'm gonna buy, we're gonna go up here and challenge this thing. Of course, this is day by day, right? But even from the standpoint of the guy that sold this style, in other words, have your orders way out in Disneyland up in here, You just banked from here. You've now made money from having your sell limit here in no man's land, not even in, but you know this is like this bizarre vacuum zone. You just made all the way to here, but your exit's got to be here, right? This was your previous pivot, and this is why I would manually draw these pivots, because these are the time pivots that the this PhD guy's indicator's not drawing for me. But if you just kind of rehearse this type of formation, now this is the accumulation phase. If we hold this low here, or we may even go do a stop out and then rip north, but that's just how it is. And all the conventional thinking of, in other words, the traders I talked to, and it wouldn't be the first trader I talked to that runs a moving average, just said to me, well, I use it as a guide. But you really have to use it as a guide. In other words, if it's a guide, like if you're on say you went overseas and you went on one of these things where, you know, they take you, and there's the travel guide, right? And it takes you to the Eiffel Tower and shows you all the greatest hits, right? I don't even want to see the Eiffel Tower. Be honest with you, it's so cliche at this point. Like, do you think people in New York City go to the World Trade Center? I mean, the people go to the Statue of Liberty if they live in New York? Hell no, they look out the window, they go, yeah, right, been there, done that. So I think we've all been there, done that on the moving average stuff. Sure, it's a guide, but it's a tourist guide for, it's a view of the market that's a little bit too, okay, now see, now you're going to tell me, look how right they are. Look at that. That was the entry. And now watch it take out the low here, which it probably will, actually, because it really isn't a downtrend, right? But you just got to realize that if you don't have a tight, like, but for me, I'm getting filled here, right? So I just bought this insane low. It depends the style you're trading. The trend traders just aren't going to get filled, and they're going to have to endure a chopping fest, a bit of chop to death. Like they sold here, they pulled it all the way back up to here. So the idea that there's some panacea here, of course they made money from here to here, but if they're said to themselves, no, this thing's really going down, unless their stops up here, they're like, yikes, I'm stopped out. Okay, this looks like a fait accompli here. This is a classic move. Comes down, pauses, makes a flag, bam. You have no indication here that you'd really want to be selling, because you're so, well, you could say, yeah, I'm selling here, but look, to me, this is my entry. They missed my pending. If I had a pending here, that's my trade. When they come down here and do this to people, this is another cruel hoax of trend trading. I sold here, I'm holding, yeah, but man, you got to take something off the table, right? Here's another chance to take something off the table. Do I get off the table? Did that scare me, that retrace? Did that scare you out of that trade? I scalped it to here. If I bought here, I scalped it to the last known floor, right? So that's what I'm doing. The guy who shorts still has money. He still made money. I re-enter here on a retag of this, right? Or this is my, because I'm going to get in again here, because I think we're going into a trading range. And I'm going to get out here again too if we come back up. Looks like it's going to fall down now. So I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to put myself here for a buy limit. It's kind of like in chess game, if you moved a piece back. So aggressive chess players are going to be like right up here, like, man, I'm right up here. But if you're going to pull back and say, okay, I'm going to pull back and open up the thing and let's see what it's going to do, see what the opponent's going to do, this would be like, oh, I'm going to go castle. Like, I'm going to place orders down here. I'm going to create a castle, and I'm going to build it down here. I may not get filled this. I may not even need this reinforcement as the chess game goes on. But if you're treating it tactically like that, but look at, it's going into range mode. So the range traders are cleaning up here. The market makers are cleaning up, realizing this is a 1 hour chart, right? There's plenty of trades here all day long on this fake breakout entry. And here the robot just, or the indicator bot just put in this support level here. So this is the support that they're going to go, the bears want to challenge this support level. But look at this. This looks like a possible breakout, and we got our first top bottom. This top became a bottom. Looks like it's not going to hold. Of course, that was the big retest entry. So if you thought you missed the bull retrace that could be coming, or you just wanted to keep scalping off of this one, but look at the constant punishment here. They're threatening to take it there, so it looks like we could plunge through the floor here. But for me, it's going to be, now I'm thinking in terms of if I could see really far to the left and see a previous support, but I can't on this chart. I definitely want to get on these psycho plunge entries. Okay, so let it come down to me. If I went short here, I scalped out of something on that, even if I'm a trend trader, because look how that could be a complete fake out, right? Of course, I'm in the 1 hour chart, and if I couldn't even see to the left, I mean, if I didn't have any price available to the left, look how that was a smash and rape. See how that is? I had to refresh my coffee cup. But I know that the trend traders claim they're making money, but let's not forget that money management and taking something out the table, I'm letting this thing play back. But this is just a prime example of, according to most trend people, this would be, you want to be on the short side, and they're right for that. But let's not deny these counter trend moves can be very disappointing. If you had sold here and you didn't take anything off the table here, and you really should have, because of this price level here, then you're loving it now, right? But you had to endure that kind of whipsaw. So this 100 period moving average here, and this is, you definitely want to be short, right? You want to look for shorts, but you also want to think about getting the hell out of here, right? Take your money and run. Take something, right? Because at this point, I'm thinking time to go buy limits here, right? Let me speed this thing up a little bit, since I'm not running. I deleted that object. I deleted that indicator. It's never going to repaint. So, okay, this is a problem here, because you're still short according to your thing, but then you're going to tell me, look at, I was right. But see, this is where we're going to have a problem, because now it's going to go into a range. And look at all this kind of up and down, all of this stuff. You got to realize this is the 1 hour chart. I mean, this may be why it's difficult to just build a robot that's just gonna, of course, in my view, the river, which I call this, once it's in the envelope there, that's gonna be the only entry point, but it's gonna keep you out, right? So you would have sold when it comes into this window, but the problem is now volatility just dried up, so you just got stopped out there, right? You just got your ass kicked there. I guess you're always getting your ass kicked on some level, and that's the okay. So now you went long here because your moving average crossover said go long, so you just got your ass annihilated there. But you made it back here because it came back to that window, and here it blew through the window, but it was a great entry, right? So I fixed the scale in here, so I constantly got to keep maneuvering this. But this is like what it is. I don't know if you've ever been on a 1 minute chart. When the market rockets off and you fixed your scale, it literally goes off the chart. But look how deep, look at the depth of this. I don't have a pip gauge on here, but that's quite a few pips, I gotta imagine. Even if it's not, it's the dimension of it moving in your favor and out of your favor. So this 100 period moving average, which is the white line, I mean, really? That's your, and how much does that course cost? There's a lot more better, I think, if you're looking at it from this standpoint. Here's a double top back here. If you could just get an indicator to say, I'm going to put a buy limit there, right? Because I want to get in there. That's the pivot. Okay, so I made some money there, right? This has nothing to do with the moving average. Now, oh, you know what? I could have probably, if I was looking back a little further in the, and I can draw a trend line on the fly here. So, to me, this is a bigger deal, right? This is my entry. Here's the crossover where the top, this becomes support, right? And out into the future, let me turn the arrays on this trend line here. Uh-oh. It's moving past me. I guess you can't change trend line properties on the fly. But, uh-oh. I think I just froze the damn playback here. I gotta hurry up and go back to play mode. But yeah, if you go into the future with this guy, right? So you can see if you're gonna make, it's better to think in terms of making so many pips, right? If you're gonna go 45-degree angle there, right? Or just find the market's rollover. So here's your let's copy that. Right, so there's your median line, right? Here's your see how that's better than the moving average, because it's showing me what is a possible. Oh man, I can't draw it fast enough here, but like this is the angle, right? So here's the trend line to beat. But look how this is a better re-entry than any moving average you'll ever see. Look at how this is a better pivot in the future. Look at this. Double top becomes a bottom here, right? See how that works? All right, so there's no need to... Moving averages are just... I've never been more convinced that they're the most ridiculous kind of invention. But now you're going to tell me, look at, came back into the river. Beautiful entry, right? But not for the sell side. The sell side looked like that was a trend line break. And here, let me throw in a horizontal. There's my next resistance. Here's a support that didn't hold. Right there's a swing low. Okay, this is when the euro melts down here. But notice where it comes back to. Since my trend lines go way out into the future, so you copy these over, right? Just keep copying that. Okay, this should be the stairway, and then if you do the bullish story would be this, right? Maybe a 45-degree. It doesn't have to be too perfect, because you're looking into the future of what could happen. Wow. Now that was a psycho scalp entry. This is when we really come unwrapped here. I can't see the left, but I trust and believe this is the point at which the euro just goes into pure meltdown. But look how these are great places to get in for a bounce. Time against price there. And this is the bottom of the envelope. Much better than Gartley's or Fibonacci. You know. Look how it's projected from way back in here, right? So does it really work? Yeah, well, I mean, I'm getting a little bizarre repaint there, but look how it's trapped in this channel. Projected into the future, right? It's the inertia momentum, you know, and then look how we're just going to tag into this envelope, and maybe this is the killer entry. Okay, it just fell out. And when you're channel trading like that, it falls out. The channel traders get clobbered, right? Because they figure, well, that's support there. But the sellers would come in at the retest of that. But look at this pivot behavior here. But this is the, in other words, people that make so much money per at the angle of this, right? look at how this thing just, it gets trapped in that channel. Okay, now this was the channel that we couldn't get out of earlier, so we finally broke free of that, but we could come back and retest, right? So you always want to get back here at fair value, but to me this is just easier because you can put your timestamp out in the future and say, okay, where is this going to be by then? You can envision this market getting down to here by then, right? It's not inconceivable. It's not going to let me plot out in the future. I can see it's going to jump this back probably. But, oh, I guess not. Here, so you're trying to speculate, like, by then, by here, right? In other words, I'll meet you at the station by 10. And here's the ultimate top bottom, which no moving average is going to give you. This bottom became a double top on the daily, right? It's just not going to happen. Anyways, I guess I got a little carried away, but strategy tester is underrated, underused, and on the weekend, when the market's not open, it's a good time to test your ideas out. If you think this idea is a good idea, and if you have a range strategy that you're working on, like I'll just place, and this is, of course, is the 1 hour chart. I'm going to trade it like this when I'm on the, of course, this works on any time frame, right? But the idea of buying here for this constant retest, constantly getting that money. Okay, now we're falling through the floor here. Let me see where we're at. Okay, this is when the euro really comes unwrapped here. And now it's going to probably come back and revisit this channel it broke out, because this is like the median line, right? This is why Andrew's pitchfork trading, it's probably the most money you'll ever make, because it's plotting out into the future. Now, that was the original channel that we broke out of, but we'll come back to the scene of the crime here, all the way back into the envelope. But this would be my bounce zones, right? It's gonna, I'm looking for it to bounce off of these again, right? Look at it just have a beautiful symmetry pace to that. Look how we revisited that. Now we're coming back up out of it. So it's easier to envision what could happen, that it is possible to come down here. And here's my entry here. I like to put my order here at the edge where they trap everybody. This is my trap entry, right? Anyways, I just fascinated by the market. That's all there is to it. And the idea that the way this thing just plots out into the future is just, it's just amazing. Wish I could zoom out one more level and go to the 4 hour here, but anyways, I guess that's just a long way of saying that I'm posting this indicator. You can play around with this thing from this guy, and if you want to drop $4.95, I think it's free delivery. Thank God for the intranet, right?